Good afternoon, peoples. How you doing today? Welcome to another episode of The Big Down. It's your man, Bobby Hill. Like Sorry about that. I'd like to thank y'all for joining me today. And I'd like to, wish everybody a happy Friday. I hope, the weekend's coming up. Hope everybody have, some good plans. Hope, you're safe. I hope, you're one step closer to your goals, whatever that is in life. Hope everything is going well with y'all. It's crazy out here, and I know it's hard to do that, day after day, seeing all this craziness out here. And I know it's hard to stay focused or to stay inspired, but, hopefully that, you have something inside of you to not be discouraged about everything that goes on around here, and you can stay inspired to you know, stay focused, have tunnel vision, and see your goal and achieve it regardless of how many people gonna hate on you, how many people gonna tell you no or it's wrong or you crazy and everything. You able to block all that white noise out and keep on focus, keep on going, keep on moving. That's all we can do in life. Keep on moving. And shout out to my cousin Ronald Blackmore. One of his favorite phrases: "Keep up, keeping it moving, keep on moving." That's all you can do. He wasn't my, I said one other quote. He wasn't my, favorite person growing up, but one of my coaches always say, either going, you either getting better or you're getting worse. You never stay the same. There's some truth to that. And, like shout out to my lovely wife, Sandra Hill. She's like I said, every podcast. She's the reason why I'm here doing this. She helps me. She's my rock. She supports me. She give me motivation to do this sometimes when I'm not motivated. Because believe me, and I say sometimes I be, oh my God. But I committed to this. They're gonna be, like I said, they're gonna be good days and bad days. They're gonna be days that I have a lot to say. I'm looking forward to it. There gonna be some days where I might be struggling trying to, get some content out. But I'm still going. I'm not gonna let y'all know that, but I'm gonna still sit up here and give you my best. Do what I'm supposed to do because this is what I signed up for. This is what I want to do, and this, good or bad, you know, hard or easy, I'm still gonna bring it to you. Like I said, she's been there. She's helped me out every single day, every single minute. She's always there to help me out, and somebody like that in your life is valuable. I wish, I know there's people out there that can say the same thing about their significant other. I wish everybody could have that feeling where, they had a partner in life that was your rock, that, no matter what happened, no matter what kind of adversity comes up, this person is right here standing, let's say 10 toes down, ready for you, ready, wait to fight the fight with you. You know, I won't fight it for you. They're gonna fight it with you. You're gonna fight your own fight, but it's good to have a partner there to help. So that's what I'm grateful for. You know, and I also like to give a happy birthday wish to my youngest, Victoria. Daddy loves you, baby. You're 19 years old. You're getting up there in age. Seems like just yesterday. I remember you. I still remember you were born. I helped you. It helped. If I saw you when you came out, I held you from the very beginning. Uh, and I watched you grow. I know been times where I've been on the road driving. I've been there every single day, but for your first 7, 8 years of life, I was there every single day, watching you grow up, playing with you, teaching you, molding you and stuff. So now, it's like I said, she's graduated last year. She's, a young woman, a young woman trying to come into her own. She's working. Hopefully I'm trying to, I think she sort of was burnt out in school. I think she was one of them kids that were affected badly by COVID, but she was able to recover, able to, not be back that it wasn't like irreparable damage, but nonetheless, it was still some damage. But she was able to come through that and get her grade. Actually came down and stayed with me for the second half of her freshman year because she was really having trouble. I was able to help her get through a ninth grade year. She went back to North Carolina, and like I said, she went straight, like my cousin said, she kept it moving, and just went straight ahead. Now she graduated. She got a diploma. Like I said, she's working now. Hopefully, I will try to you know talk to her and try to guide her and to continue her education. I understand how it is sometimes in life. You know, some people are built to go through 13 years of school and go through 4 or 8 or 10 more years of college. Some people are built like that. Not everybody's built like that. Some people can go straight out of high school and do it. Some people need maybe a break, burnt out, be in class every day, want to go work, start their life and then go back to school. There's no shame in that. There's no shame into admitting that, okay, I'm not ready right now. Because one thing that's worse than not being ready is going there is was it's good for her to say she's not ready, and this good self-awareness. What's worse is being pressured to go, you're not ready, and you still go anyway. And those are the cases where people ended up dropping out after the first semester, after the first year. They get that taste of freedom and they can't, and it's too much for them. They can't sustain, their they can't sustain their academics because there's just so much to do. There's no guidance. There's not that a parent there to tell the child to, hey, get up, time for class. There's a party that you have an exam in the morning and there's a damn frat party and everybody gonna be there. You have to make that choice. Think about the long term of their exam and think about the short term pleasure of going to that party. And then and there's consequences to it. There's consequences to everything. So, it's good that like I said, it's good that she decided, she's not. I think that she needed a break for a second. So, like I said, she can work, make money, make a little bit of money, save it up and everything, get her stuff started, get a good foundation. Then she want to go back to school later. That's she got my honey, but she got my blessing. She has my blessing. And I think that, she's been through a lot, and she's been through a lot. And said, there's people, I know there's people that have been through worse, but, the young lady been through a lot. I was very, like I said, she was, in middle school and stuff, she was, doing good, playing sports and stuff. And, COVID hit and, all that stuff was just taken away from her overnight. And I think that caused like a bit of depression, anxiety. I think more depression than anything because I felt like I really believe that she felt like her life had been taken away from her. So because she had a lot going on. Like I said, she was playing softball, she was playing basketball, and then everything was gone for a year and a half. So, her whole 8th grade year was spent in the bedroom, going and people, people will criticize or talk about, these kids and stuff, but that was a tough situation and stuff. And I reflect with myself and think about, us and, me in school with, my peers and everything and how we would have reacted if all of a sudden we were just, confined to our rooms in front of a computer and asking us to do all our studies and stuff and how we would react and, how it would affect us and stuff. Granted, our generation, we didn't have all this technology, so we went outside a lot. So I got to, have fun feeling that a lot of people be outside. So it's class, so they outside. But they, they couldn't go outside because of COVID. So they had to restrict everything. So, it was, like I said, a tough situation. But like I said, I'm glad she was able to get out of it, prove that, she's a tough person, that she can overcome adversity, and she has. I said, is everything like perfect in her life? No, but like I said, she's trying to find her own. She's trying to make her way in this world. Like I said, some people can find their way faster than others. But she's still trying to find her way, and she's a good person, sweet person, and I just I'm lucky to have her as a daughter. And I'm glad that I'm glad that she was able to call me daddy. But yeah, I love you, baby girl. 19 years on this planet, whole lot more. So I always got your back. I'm always here for you. I know I'm always a phone call or FaceTime away or a text message away. So, you know, salute to my baby girl, Victoria Hill. Daddy loves you. Nah. With that being said, being a father and stuff, it's just, has its ups and downs. I felt like in my life, felt like being a father has been, you know, when I was being able to be there, I've been, it's been the greatest job in the world. But, there was, circumstances where, the kids taken away from my other kids. With Victoria, you know, I was over the road a lot. And then, me and her mom, we ended our relationship. So, I still communicated with her, but me being there every day or when I got off the road, that changed. So, but my feelings for her, her feelings for me, Victoria hasn't changed. I still call her right now. We'll talk just like we just seen each other yesterday. So we have that type of vibe, that type of communication. I love it. I wish I had that with my other children, but I don't know. Like I said, things are the way they are right now. Don't mean things will always remain the way they are. So you have to be hopeful. You have to be hopeful that some things may change. Some things may change. I'm here. Like I said, I'm here. I'm not. I'm not about to let that define my life. You know, I have to keep moving. I always come back to my cousin. Keep moving forward. Go ahead and let things work out the way they work out. I can't control other people. You can't control what people think. You can't control what people feel. All you can control is your actions. You know, be the best person you can be. You know, provide the best way you can. And don't provide for a reason of getting paid back. Your payback is your child growing up to be a productive human being, being a law abiding citizen, being an intelligent person that can handle their business and can protect themselves. That's all your payback is. That's your payback is. Some people, fortunate enough where, the child make it to the league and they buy them a house and all that monetary stuff. I mean, that's all good. Nothing wrong with that. But that's not the reason why you have kids. So your damn kids can buy you a house when they become a pro athlete or whatever. Nah, that ain't why you become a parent. You become a parent to continue your legacy. And your legacy is this person, how they gonna represent you when you're gone and your family. And you want them to represent you in the most positive way. That's why you teach them. That's why you teach them when they're young. You get on them when they're wrong. You don't sit up there, you don't be their friend. You be their parent. You can be nice to them and laugh and joke and play with them. But at the end of the day, you have to keep that line of respect of being a parent. And I think a lot of times these days, that line has become fuzzy. And that's why you have these, these kids and parents having relationships like their brothers and sisters or something like that because that line of respect is gone. So you have to keep that line of respect. You know, almost like it's almost like a fear. Like I said, not like a fear from a gun, but fear, like almost like fear from God. Like I don't want to disrespect my mom. I don't want to disrespect my parents because it's not the right thing to do. because I'm afraid, even they're afraid, God might strike you dead or something like anything. Just you need that daggone healthy fear. Your parents, like I don't want to, to keep that respect there. Because once you lose that respect as a parent, once you lose that respect from your kid, it's hard. It's hard to get it back. It's hard to get it back. And I've seen kids that don't respect their parents, and it's hard. It's hard. It's a tough situation because I've seen times where the parents trying hard as they can, and just it's hard. So there's no manual to raise kids. There's no manual to being a parent. As much as people try to take it, as much as people try to make it, but there's no manual to marriage. It's all on the job training because everybody's different. Every child is different. Every marriage is different. What works for one marriage might destroy another marriage. So that's where communicate with your partner, communicate so y'all, talk about the good, the bad, what you like and what you don't like about yourself, and what you like and don't like about your partner. And you have to do the same thing, be able to listen to the partner tell you what they don't like about you. And y'all come to, y'all talk about it and, learn each other and understand each other better. That's how it works. Don't sit back and say, I don't like how you do this, and just talk around him. Go tell your friends, go tell your parents, go tell your whatever that you don't like the way this person damn chews their food, or you don't like the way they snore, or you don't like the way they damn big toenail cut through their sock, or any little thing that you might not like of that person, tell them, let them know. Y'all can talk about it. You never know. It could be something that he's not aware of. It could be something that could be fixed. But you sit there and not talk about it or talk about it around other people, and you let it manifest into a big problem. The next thing you know, you find yourself breaking up because this person snores too loud. But that's not the problem. But you have let that underlying problem grow, manifest into a big problem. So communication with each other and communication with your kids. That's how y'all gonna know. That's how people gonna know about each other. No, there's nobody here that's a psychic. You cannot read minds here. You cannot read minds. You want somebody to know how you feel, you tell them. Don't make them guess. Don't make them guess what you're thinking. Don't make the person guess what you want to eat. Don't make them guess what you want for whatever. Tell them. So for that other person, now, once you tell them, it's up to the other person to listen. Pay attention. Listen to what they say. It's all about paying attention and listening to your partner. People, like some people be having problems as far as buying a spouse, birthday presents or Christmas presents, stuff like that. And you hear them say, well, I don't know what they want. And that because you're not listening. That person probably told you throughout the entire year what they want, but you're not listening to them. Listen, and keep a mental note, even if you have to write it down on your phone or do something. But listen to what they say. They will tell you without you having to ask. But you got to pick up on the clues. You got to listen. You got to know your partner. They'll tell you. So. Like I said, that's one of the ins and outs of relationships, man. Like I said, there's no blueprint, but one thing that's universal is communication. That's with anything. That's with any type of relationship you have with anything, with your kids, with your spouse, with your parents, with your brothers and sisters, with your aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces and nephews, with your boss, with whatever. Whatever. Communication. Talk to each other. And you see what happens when you don't communicate. What do you have? You have the United States Congress right now. That's what happens when you don't communicate. That's how dysfunctional that is. That's how dysfunctional your household will be if you don't communicate. Hmm. You know, it's something me and my wife had to work on communicating. You know, like I said, because you come into relationships, you always, intentionally or unintentionally, you're gonna bring baggage. Everybody, especially the older you get, you have more baggage. That's life. They call it baggage, but you're just bringing life experiences with you, and everybody brings them. Everybody brings different life experiences. That sometimes that's the beauty of a relationship, that two people come from two entirely different, areas of the world, areas of the country, period. They can come together and build something beautiful. That's the beautiful thing about having relationships, the human connection. You know, and that's why I was so glad that I was able to get out of North Carolina, because I felt like I was being pigeonholed, as they say. I was being like being stuck to this area and only having like this, like these choices in life. When I started driving trucks, I was able to see like that the world is bigger than that. There's a lot of things out here. There's a lot of things that you could do. You don't have to confine yourself to this one area. But like I said, I was glad I was able to get out. I'm saying, meet people and see different cultures. And now I was able to meet my lovely wife. Like I said, we're two different people. I grew up in southeastern North Carolina. She grew up in the Rio Grande Valley, which is right here at the border of Texas and Mexico. So we grew up in two different areas, but we was able to come together. Yes, we had differences. We talk about our differences all the time, but we have similarities too, and we bond over our similarities. So yes, that's it can work. Is it easy? It wasn't easy, and it's not easy now. I mean, being with her is easy. Loving her is real easy, but dealing with life day to day, that's difficult, because we got things coming up, man. Life hits, but the thing is, we deal with it together. So the situation may be hard, but us together working as a team is easy, because I'm used to. She's my partner. I can open up to her about anything, and she can open up to me. So we know each other. So she know what I'm gonna say. I know what she's gonna say. And if she don't know, she'll ask me. She has no problem asking, and I ask her. That's how we know each other. She knows what she knows what I want. She knows my routine. She already know. You know, she already know in the morning time. Today's too much information. She already know in the morning time. I guess I heard people say this. I guess every man does. I'll say in the morning time, she already know that in the morning time, I wake up, I let out a fart so loud it goes through the whole house. She calls it the firecracker. If it don't happen, she say, "Baby, what's wrong?" I don't know, something hurt. She already knows, because she looks for it. You know, I already know. Every morning, she wakes up in the morning to use the bathroom at a particular time every single morning, and I know that. No, I know how she likes her food. She know how I like my food. We watch, we binge watch shows together. We do anything. We sit down listening to music together. She listens. She listens to a lot of music. I listen to a lot of music. So I got a wide range of stuff I like to listen to. But since I came down to Texas, I started getting into a lot of Spanish music too, hey, they got some bangers. I ain't gonna lie, they got some bangers stuff you can dance to, nod your head. Me, I'm just, I'm from the hip hop generation. The one thing that we like is what, a nice beat. You can always say this about a song. All you need, especially all you need, is a nice beat, something you can bob your head to, something you can, something, yeah, like a catchy hook. A catchy hook. It don't matter what it is. Catchy hook. You know, there it is. A catchy hook. I got 5 on it. Yeah, find me in the club. Some kind of any catchy hook. And something when you have that, sometimes the lyrics don't even matter. No, but yeah, they have a nice, I listen to a lot of she turned me on to, genre of music, called cumbia, which is real good, Tejano is, pretty good. Yeah. And I think when I first seen it, I was like, what in the world? I thought it was reggae. Like it's reggae music, but it's called reggaeton. That's what you that's that music, like the Bad Bunny, the J Balvin, um, who is Daddy Yankee, Osuna. There's a couple of artists, I listen to and stuff that do that, what's called that reggaeton. Okay? There's some female too, like Carol G, Becky G, I think what's her name? Shakira. Um, yeah, they got like I said, they got a lot of I think Nicky Jam, Nicky Jam. Only thing, the reason I'm gonna think when I think of Nicky Jam, the only thing I'm gonna think of is when Trump called him on stage and said, "Damn," he thought Nicky Jam was a woman. He never knew it was a man, and he was like, "Oh, that Nicky Jam is so hot." He walked right on stage. That has always been funny to me. But yeah, he turned me. She turned. I've expanded my music. I always listen to. Of course, I listen to hip hop and R&B. Listen to jazz. Throw some country in there. I listen to rock and roll. I like the '80s rock and roll. I like that. I listen to that. I listen to the Guns N' Roses. I listen to the AC Guns N' Roses, ACDC, Metallica, Motley Crue. Um, I didn't listen to Poison too much. I used to listen to George Michael. I used to listen to Phil Collins. Listen to I ain't into the Beatles, but I used to like this one song by one of the Beatles guys. It was George Harrison. He had that song called "Set on You." I got my mind set on you. That I used to like that song. That's what I did. But so I think who else? ACDC. Yes, stuff like that. Listen to pop music too. I listen to pop music. I grew up with watching VH1, so we had no choice to really watch, listen to the pop music and stuff. I used to listen to all that, you know, and I do, and I still listen to it now. I mean, I don't listen to it as much as I don't listen to it. I listen to it a little bit, not as much as I used to. I try to consume more like everything now, so I'm not just focused on one thing. I have like little moments where okay, I feel like listening to Mexican music, Spanish music for the week. Then I turn around, hey man, listen to some old hip hop for the week. Then I might listen to I have R&B, my slow jams and all that. Yeah, I listen to all. I still got that. You know, my lady likes that. My wife likes that. Believe it or not, one thing I told her one thing that turned me on. I knew the two people. I remember who she said she really likes. She said she likes Keith Sweat. She likes Keith Sweat, which is good because Keith Sweat is very popular. A lot of people from a lot of different cultures like Keith Sweat. But this one I wasn't expecting her to like this person. She said she loves his voice. That is Ronald Mr. Biggs Isley. She told me I love that man. I love his voice. And I was like, oh my God, will you marry me? Let's make love between the sheets. And don't leave no footsteps in the dark. And do it good and make me shout. But yeah, she like Ronald Isley. Black name, but Ronald Isley, he's a legend. He's a legend. So yes. I would like to say it's been like as far as music, like I said, it's good. We got, we're able to vibe a lot, listen to stuff, drink some wine, listen to some music. Sometimes we sit back, drink some wine, and listen to some damn elevator music. That's some old slow jazz stuff you might hear in the elevator. Just relaxing, man. Just the way it is. That's the way it is. Sometimes, like the older you get, sometimes just the most satisfying thing sometimes is just sitting there with your woman in a room that's don't have a lot of light. Sit back with some wine and just enjoy each other's company. You know, I'm a foot person, so hell, I drank some wine and kiss on her toes. That's just me though. That's not a big deal to me because I feel like when you marry somebody, you with somebody, you love all that person. You love everything. She got a pretty face and she got fucking fucked up feet. You love her feet just as much as you love her face because you love it all. You're not with one. You're not married to her face. You're married to everything. So you take everything, the good with the bad. There's nobody here perfect. You know, sure. Because the things that you put up, the thing that you put aside to be with her, then the same thing. This thing she put aside to be with you. She probably don't like the fact that you got damn crusty drawers or something. You know, maybe your damn teeth are messed up. Maybe something wrong with you that she looks aside and be like, nah, I love this man. I don't care about all that. I don't see that. I see my damn king. So you got to respect that, man. We got to accept each other, whether good or bad. All our flaws. Everybody's flawed out here, so nobody's sitting out here perfect. But we got to accept each other, and once you start accepting each other and communicate, then you can watch it down. You can watch stuff grow. But here's the thing: you're dealing with human beings. You can do all of that, and everything be right, and the person still be the wrong person. And that's the choice, and that's life. Sometimes that's life. You do all the right stuff and do all the right things and still end up being the wrong person. You might not know that at first. It might happen later. This it just happens. It's sad to say, but don't the people that have happened to, just don't be discouraged. Don't let that discourage you. Don't let that say, okay, I done struck out a couple times. I'm just giving up on it. Nah, because you giving that next person might be it. And that's what drives you because you never know that next person might be the one. So like I said, and if you with somebody and things ain't going right, just work hard. Just dig deep, man. Dig deep. If you really like that person, you really love that person, y'all really feel like y'all got something special, work on it. Work on it. Go. Even if y'all got to get away somewhere, just y'all two, just get away and get back into each other and reconnect and remind yourself why you fell in love with that person. Or remind yourself what made you attracted to that person. Sometimes it takes you going back to the beginning and thinking about, hey, what made me be with this person? Then you start remembering that, and then things can start falling back into place. But you gotta try. Got to, not be afraid to try something new. Not be afraid to let your partner know how you feel. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable with your partner. If you can't be vulnerable with nobody else, be vulnerable with your partner. Let them be vulnerable with you. Y'all can lean on each other when times are tough, and that's what you want. Somebody you can lean on with, man. Because you don't want to go through this life by yourself with nobody. That's a lonely life. You don't want to be by yourself. You want to have somebody in your life, somebody that you can share memories with. What's the sense of having money if you got nobody to share it with? What's the sense of having houses and cars and all that? You sitting there by yourself in a lonely ass damn house. You want to share with people. I tell my wife I'd rather be broke and happy than rich and miserable any day of the week. I'd rather be happy with I'd rather look at my damn, I don't care what our financial situation is. I want to be able to look at my wife every morning when she get up out of bed and say, hey, I love this woman. That's what it's all about. It's all about how much material stuff we can damn accumulate through our lifetime. That means shit. Because when you die, it ain't going nowhere. Somebody else gonna have that. It's all about you and how you can how can you build. It's about you and how you can how you build relationships. How you communicate with people, how you project yourself, what kind of energy you put out in the world, and what energy comes back to you. That's what it's all about. Now, I'm a firm believer if you put positive energy out there, some positive energy will come back. I ain't say 100% positive energy, but but you put something out there, but if you put negative energy out there, I think you will get it back to you, the negative energy. So just be careful about, things that you put out here, things that you say, the things that, the type of image you portray out here with yourself, man. All that stuff matters. You don't want to kiss. You ain't sitting here trying to impress people, but you don't want people to sit up here and have a negative view about you when just because they have never talked to you before, just by looking at you, they got a negative view of you. You don't want that. If someone has a negative view of you, it's because of something you said or something you did, not because they looked at you and said, "Hey, he looks like a hoodlum." See, you don't want that. That's part of the problem we have now. People, ready to judge people off how they look without having a conversation with them. So yeah, I went and go through that a lot too. So it happens. It's unfortunate that it happens, but once I get a chance to talk to people, they realize, hey, this guy's cool. This guy's intelligent. This guy's funny. But they won't know that unless they take that step to communicate. And that's what that's the thing we got to work on, communication. Don't be trapped on these phones, man. Get out here and talk to people. Talk to people. Look them in the eye and talk to them. It's easy to sit up here and text someone where you don't have to look at their face. Do the hard stuff. Get up and talk. Get out here and talk to people. Get out here and look somebody in the eye and talk to them. Don't text your mom you love them. Don't text your dad and your sister you love them. Go over there, see them. Go look them in the eye. Give them a hug and say I love you. Because believe me, that right there is more powerful than a damn text message. Believe it. As my man used to say growing up, as my man Vashon, shout out to Vashon V. Kelly Murphy. Believe it. With that being said, I would like to thank y'all for coming here today. Thank y'all for giving me your time. I love talking about, it was just a good show today, talking about, relationships with my kids. It's good. Something like I said, it's not going to be all sports. It's not going to be politics. Sometimes be my personal life and what my perspective is on stuff. And, I just try to throw positive stuff out here to people, man. If it don't concern you, if it don't apply to you, then, it's okay. But if it does apply to you, I hope you, take something I said and can apply it to your life. That's all. That's all. That is all. Well, I'd like to thank y'all for being here, and I hope y'all have a great weekend. It depends on the game go this weekend. It depends on what Wendy do. I might try to, I might pop up with her this weekend. I'll let you, like I said, when I do that, I'll let you know. Like the same thing I post on Facebook, say it's on deck. Be about 10, 15 minutes, and I'm coming. And hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button, help a brother out, help this thing grow so we can do more things. Shout out to my man, Lewis Jenkins. I'm going to be on his show, be on this show, brother talking, a bunch of brothers talking about life and stuff. And I'm going to be out there with him on, I think, June the 6th, the closer it get, I'm going to let y'all know, keep on letting you know we doing that. So I want y'all to come check us out, man, how we let's chop it up, talking about issues that we have in our community stuff, being men and being men of color. We're going to discuss things about us, the challenges we have in now in society, and how we're going to shape that and build a future for us. Because, we have, we are the future. we the present. Our kids are the future. In the words of the great Randy Watson and the incomparable Sexual Chocolate, I believe the children are the future. Lead them well, teach them well, and let them lead the way. Thank y'all for coming here today. I will check y'all out on Monday. And like I said, if I hear on the weekend, I'll let y'all know. Stay tuned. I love y'all. Kiss your family. Kiss your loved ones, kiss your kid, like I said, because you never know, it might be the last one. Thank you. Have a nice day. I love y'all.